Hi guys, this video is about BMW S1000XR and potential areas that are worth to pay attention to if you are considering getting yourself this BMW, because those things may turn into issues or maybe even some deal breakers for you, and so I think that you should know them before making your decisions. And hopefully after this video you will be able to say that you really either don't care about all these points or they are not even applicable to you, and so you will be able to get this awesome motorcycle with no hesitation. And if you are also interested in seeing the other part or the other side of the story, so the reasons to buy the BMW S1000XR, please check my other video with 7 reasons to get the XR, and you may really like what you see and hear there. Going through both points of view, you should have a complete view on the topic. Now the link to that video is in the description. Now let's get down to business and start with the first point that may make some of you question the big XR's usability, especially in the city riding. And I'm talking about a weak or a fairly weak low end, which means that pretty much everywhere in the first half or so of the RPM range, the XR behaves like any other motorcycle equipped with a 4-cylinder inline engine would behave. So it is not that punchy. It works, it accelerates, but it needs time to reach higher RPM to really start going and using its full potential. And this may be an issue in the city as the speeds are lower there. So even in the first gear, and the gears are actually quite long, just like in other bikes with 4-cylinder inline engines. So even in the first gear, in the beginning, there isn't much going on. So in other words, if you are not expecting to need to race anybody, or you're not having a habit of keeping your motorcycle at higher revs at all times, you may not be experiencing what is so cool about the XR. So its immense power, as it's just not there in the beginning. What it may mean, on the other hand, when riding outside of the city, is that going 90 or 100 kilometers per hour, you may be still in the first gear or in the 6th. Now imagine that you want to overtake someone, and since you've been riding for some time behind them, you're in that 6th gear. As the bike handles it quite fine. If you want to benefit from the real power that the XR offers and really quickly overtake that someone in front of you for whatever reason, there's little space or whatever, then you'll have to drop 5 gears. 5 gears. That's crazy, and I believe that at least the 3 first gears should be shorter to give us that kick at lower speeds too, without the need of constantly changing gears up and down. It really doesn't make much difference whether you are in a 6th or a 4th gear at 120 kilometers per hour, because it feels quite similar. And so this makes me question the sense of that in a motorcycle that is quite capable of touring. Now this isn't a flaw of S1000XR in particular, as I would like to make it totally clear that most 4-cylinder motorcycles with inline engines work like that, and this behavior is there usually too. So it's nothing wrong with this bike. It just may not suit you and may actually confuse you a bit, and I would like you to be aware of that. Some say that we can replace the sprockets with custom ones, as that will or that could result in shortening the gears, and I think that this could make a lot of sense. I haven't heard of anybody who would actually do it, so if you did, please let us know how it feels now and whether it was worth the effort. Now let's move to the second point that I simply had to include here, as so many of you have been commenting under my honest review of this BMW S1000XR video that you hate its seat and you could not live with it. What's funny is that I actually like that seat myself, even though I'm very picky about this topic. As you see, I'm right now sitting on an electric office chair that's made out of the genuine Rolls-Royce Phantom Coupe car seat, and it's amazing. I love it, and I love comfortable things. So I'm a Rolls-Royce kind of a guy when it comes to treating my butt, and I had no complaints about the S1000XR seat. But I know why some of you may not like it, and that's understandable, as it's shaped very much like an egg. There is a pretty short sort of gap cut out for your bum to sit in, and then if it happens to be big, your butt I mean, it may not fit that well, or rather it may not fit into it at all. Same thing happens if you are 200 kilograms and you are on a plane sitting in an economy class or sitting in a Ferrari car seat instead of a Rolls-Royce car seat. And the same thing applies here with the XR seat. It doesn't let you slide forward and backward too much due to its shape. Make sure if this particular seat suits you. There's no need to worry too much anyway, as you can always replace the seat with something else or just make yourself a custom seat designed for your own butt, regardless of whether it's square or triangle. And the third reason I've got to mention that sometimes there can be a kind of an identity crisis for the XR. It's quite hard to tell what it is exactly. Sometimes it can be a tourer, sometimes a sports bike, while it looks maybe even like an adventure motorcycle. If you are very social, then this pops a question. Should you join the GS Riders Club or S1000RR Riders Club? You've got to stick to S1000XR Club only, as it's one-of-a-kind type of motorcycle. But how to describe it then, if you are asked about what bike you're riding and what segment it is in? Is it a tourer? Is it a sports bike? It definitely is not an adventure motorcycle because of the next point actually. The thing with the XR is that you can do the touring part and the street racing part just fine, and that may in turn be translated into its advantage. And I'm talking more about it in the reasons to buy it video, explaining how we can look at this matter from another perspective. One of the things that I just mentioned leads us straight to the fourth possible reason, which can be an actual real-life disadvantage for some of you. So I feel you should know about it up front as well. BMW S1000XR cannot go off-road. It is totally not meant to go off-road, and if you try that, it will do all the things badly. It doesn't and it can't really have proper off-road tires. The suspension doesn't have enough travel to provide you with appropriate, let's call it comfort and control while riding off the road. The front wheel has a 17-inch tire, which may serve as another indicator. The handlebar should be wider, like in a Multistrada or a GS, while instead it's rather similarly wide to the one in a Suzuki V-Strom, which also isn't the best off-road motorcycle, but rather a comfy, calm tourer. The handlebar is also too low, but the one thing that cannot be fixed or modified to be doing a better job when off-roading is an engine. Try to do any kind of precise maneuver in a tight spot, let's say going uphill, using a sports bike's 4-cylinder engine with an anemic low end. This absolutely disqualifies this bike from going off the road. Some light off-roading you can do with a Yamaha R1, and the XR can do the same thing basically. So I say that if you expect to be willing to go off the road at some point, just look somewhere else. It's just the way this bike is, and its purpose is totally different. That's one thing it just won't do. It shouldn't do it. It will do it, but it won't do it well. Now, an annoying thing in the fifth point that on one hand makes sense, but on the other one is still annoying. And what I mean is that BMW charges you literally for almost everything extra, except for the basic safety equipment that's now required in the European Union. If you want to have a quick shifter, you have to pay extra. If you want to have cornering front light, you have to pay extra. If you want to have a keyless access, same thing, or heated grips, or even cruise control on my market, which I think is ridiculous. And I think it's so basic now, and actually it has been now for years. And it's not cheap paying for those things. The heated grips are 250 euros, cruise control is like 350 euros. So I say that it actually does make sense. I've got to say that I still do prefer to choose options that I want to have, as I'm going to be using them, and the ones that I'm not, I don't want to pay for them at all. And I see that riding in California, you may in fact not be interested in having heated grips. If you ride only in the city, you may not give a damn about cruise control. And I get it. And I prefer this solution to having a motorcycle with all the options already, but costing 50% more because of that, which would in turn make it unaffordable for many riders just because of that. But still, if you want it, definitely do not look only at the base price. Straight from this money topic, I'm moving to another money topic. So the sixth reason for perhaps looking somewhere else may be the fact that even the base S1000XR already costs a lot of money anyway. And we're talking over 16,000 euros and over 18,500 US dollars. That's a lot without options. And the point here is that you may get some alternatives for less money. If you are into touring, there then can be a cheaper, super ugly, currently Suzuki V-Strom 1050. If you are into quick and dynamic city motorcycles that you sit upright on and that have a punchy 4-cylinder engine or something that resembles a 4-cylinder engine actually with 3 cylinders, then you may want to take a look at the Yamaha Tracer 9. If you want a sports bike purely, you may get yourself a few ones for less as well. To go off-road, you've got KTMs that are mostly cheaper than an XR. So there are some kind of alternatives, and even though they may not be able to do some of the things that S1000XR can do, at some point of adding options, you may realize that you may get a sports bike and a touring bike or an off-road bike for the same kind of money that you would pay for one XR. Well, I guess it depends on how much space you've got in your garage and what you're looking for. And I'm just saying, consider this. Probably the closest match would be Yamaha Tracer 9 GT. So if your heart hurts when your wallet hurts, give it a try. And I have reviewed this bike and compared it also directly to this big XR in my 2 other videos, which I linked in the description. If you are wondering now, just check them out. The 7th point is a direct hit at something that I don't understand how BMW could have overlooked or perhaps even decided to keep it this way. It's that the S1000XR, even though it's being quite light at just 226 kilograms with 90% of fuel tank filled with fuel, the big 1000XR feels really heavy at low speeds. It doesn't really encourage you to take it for a spin in the city, to fight traffic or to play around doing some tight maneuvers. It is a little bit strange to me, especially that BMW always balances their motorcycles out very well, and this XR is well balanced too, but perhaps because of its previously very visible issues with getting wobbly when accelerating very hard at higher speeds in their first generation, BMW somehow needed or needs to keep it sort of rough and heavy for whatever reason. But on the other hand, the Yamaha Tracer feels so much lighter, even though, just like F900XR, it weighs also pretty much the same as the 1000XR. And I would say that this is a proof that there can be either a better weight distribution or a better way of tuning the suspension and the whole chassis to make a motorcycle of this shape and this style behave in an encouraging way in terms of handling and maneuvering. Maybe it's because of the 4-cylinder engine and its dimensions, but the Tracer has 3 of them and it feels pretty much just as light as the 2-cylinder F900XR. So 1 cylinder doesn't seem to change that much. And to sum this up, if you are looking for a powerful motorcycle that feels always nimble and agile in terms of handling and cooperating with you and ease of going wherever you want at whatever speed you want, and this is your priority for this kind of motorcycle, then I say you should try Ducati Multistrada that has similar power. It doesn't feel as powerful, even though it is more powerful, and the engine isn't as enjoyable to squeeze everything out of it as the XR's is, but it handles better in my opinion. It feels lighter, it feels more encouraging to sit on and just ride wherever, just to ride. Now, if you don't feel like you would ever use all that power anyway, this 165 horsepower of the XR or 170 horsepower of the Multistrada, then there's just one choice in terms of having fun when riding a motorcycle at any speed, and you've got to try BMW R1250 GS, which is simply the best when it comes to handling. Just try those bikes if you like that light feeling. Now moving to the last 8th point, and I hope that you will not be deeply disappointed with the XR after this one, but I know that for some of you this may be a real deal breaker, even though it's not a tragedy. But damn, I am wondering if it actually would not be a deal breaker for me myself. And I'm talking about a chain drive. That is the cheapest and the easiest solution to propel the bike. Another way that is being utilized in this class of motorcycles, and some have it like BMW R1250 GS, the new Triumph Tiger 1200 or a Harley Davidson, is the drive shaft. It is maintenance free, there's no mess, no stopping to spray it. You just get the bike, fill it with fuel, and forget. With S1000XR you cannot do that, as the chain needs your regular attention and regular maintenance, with spraying and preferably also cleaning it and checking the tension too from time to time. It is all dirty, it is messy, and you can never fully clean the motorcycle itself because of that, as it simply needs to stay covered with a lubricant, and that shit is everywhere. It's no fun, and I personally don't buy the argument that the chain provides less power loss upon delivery from the engine to the rear wheel. Yeah, there may be more losses with the drive shaft, but then it is, in my opinion, that's the manufacturer's problem to make the engine more powerful at the crank. BMW is able to make over 200 horsepower from this particular four-cylinder engine, but in an RR. Ducati used to make over 200 horsepower Panigale with a V2 and now with a V4, so I'm sure that both of these manufacturers could install drive shafts and tweak the engines a little bit to counter all those possible power losses, which I don't think actually would be issues anyway. So here you have all 8 top reasons that may be there for you to avoid BMW S1000XR. Please do consider them. Watch the other video with all the reasons to buy the XR, as those are exciting, and I hope that this delivers as much insights as possible to you guys. All the best, and see you in the next one.